Okay, this is segment 3 on Microsoft Access Database Queries, and now we're going to be using the USA database file. Again, you can find this located on the SharePoint site right here, Database Week 4 Samples. You can extract that and download that to your desktop. And we're going to address these business questions. Again, these are like math word problems. And in these sets, we're going to expand on what we can do with the criteria field in Microsoft Access. Use some wildcards, etc. In the USA database, we have just a single table called US States. US States has some basic information about each state. Also notice that it is sorted by state, and that is the primary key, the state name. So let's create the query there to address the first question, which is which states were added to the Union in the 1800s. And again, notice that the first two database questions that we try to answer is which table, in this case US states, it's the only one, and we don't have any joins that we have to worry about. Now we want to know which states and the year that they were added. Again, I like to run the query first so that I know that we've got some data in the system that meets the basic columns. And now what we want to do is filter for or create the criteria for ones that were formed in the 1800s. So we're going to say between 1800 and 1900. And let's see if I can run that. Expand that out a little bit here so that you guys can see this. We'll run the query, and here's our results. We have 29 states that were listed. Now, one little gotcha with the between statement, and let me rephrase the question. In the first 9 decades, so from 1800 to 1890, and run this, notice that we have Wyoming here in 1890. And with the between statement, it still picks this up, 1890. It's inclusive. If I really want the correct answer, the first 9 decades, not including the last one, I would say 1889, and then notice Wyoming is no longer popping up. So that's something to keep an eye on whenever you're using the between statement. Okay, let's look at the next question. Which states begin with the characters MI? So I'll go back, create a new query, query design, add the table, and again I want to know the name of the states, and really that's all I care about here. MI star, I'm going to use the star as a wildcard, tab out of that, and notice that Access adds this little like quotation MI star, so it finalizes the syntax for us. And if we want to, let's run this, and we can see that we have our 4 states that begin with MI. And if we go to what's called the SQL view, that in a couple of previous slides you had seen out here, here is the SQL syntax. Select the name from this table where usstates.name like MI star. So that is what gets created automatically for us in the design view right here. Okay, so now let's go to the third question. Which states are larger than 100,000 square miles with population greater than 1 million? So we'll go back here, create, query, and we want to know the name, the population, and the area. Those are the 3 columns or the 3 types of output that we're interested in. Again, we run that, we have a listing of all 50 states. Go back to the design view, and we want to have the population greater than 1 million and greater than 100,000. So notice I want both of these conditions to be true. I run that, and I'm listed now with these 6 states. For example, Alaska is not in this particular query, does not fit, even though the area is bigger than 100,000, but at the time the database was put together, its population was less than 1 million. So that's why it would not pop up. So then we'll look at this last question. What are the names of the 13 colonies? So let me go back to create, new query, add that. And again, I want to know the names of the colonies or the states. And of course, the key fact of about the 13 colonies, we add the year, is that the year they were added to the Union. These happen to be the first states in the United States. So I'll run that, and again, remember that our data is sorted by the primary key, which is the state name. Now, in order to change this differently, what I need to do is use the sorting here, and I want to go sorting in ascending order. Make sure we do that. And we start now with the first state, which was Pennsylvania, then Delaware, and so forth, all the way on up. Now, we only care about the first 13. Now, I can count down here and go, 1, 2, 3, etc. to get to my 13 colonies. But to make life a little bit easier, there's a little trick up here in Access where it says normally return all. We can go in there and return 5 or 5% or whatever. In this case, I want to return 13. And those are the only values that need to be returned. So let me run that. And there's my 13 colonies, sorted by the year that they were admitted to the Union. Go back to the design view, and that's our final result. So that wraps up segment 3 of the database, Microsoft database queries.